Greetings, it's Vanessa-Mary back with another episode of Family Heritage. This is the weekly show that I have, and it's a show where I explore stories, values, and experiences that have shaped our lives and our families. And also, if you are a business owner, I'm sure you will agree that some of these values do come over into our business life as well. Now, ultimately, I am talking about legacy. So, this is where you will join me every week for reflection on family, leadership, and well-being, and also the lessons that get passed on from generation to generation. Basically, every family, has a story, and every story leaves its legacy. So, I'm just checking because I think I might be correct on what I'm trying to do on Facebook. So I do want to see if it's actually worked or not. I don't know if it does. I'm just coming back into Facebook. Okay, so if you are following me over on Facebook and you're thinking, oh, I don't see her, she doesn't post, what does she do? Where is she? I do spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. Okay, so I love being on LinkedIn, but I'm just very, I think it's working. If you're watching this on Facebook, please help me out and let me know that it is coming through, because I don't know what I'm doing over there anymore. I don't want Facebook to hold me back. Oh, I think, right, I shared it to the wrong thing. Right, so I'm just pressing next, right? Okay. So I think Facebook is sorted now, so I can relax. All right, so this is episode 9. So I am delighted to say that I've been showing up consistently for 9 weeks. And it's not easy to do that when, it's new and you know that not many people are actually looking or watching or whatever. And you're thinking, I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going. But that kind of leads me to today's topic. And I'm talking about the hands that help us to grow. Okay, so welcome back. And just to recap, if you are new here, last week I was speaking about, is it in my notes what we were actually speaking about? I was talking about who was helping us to grow. And actually, I got a comment from a family member because I featured one of my grandmothers, and my family member really liked what I said about my grandmother. So I know my family's watching me. So that's really good. But no, this week we're talking about who is actually helping us to grow, because sometimes we talk about people in our life, mentors and that type of thing, who help us. But for me, when I was actually preparing today's session, I thought, wait a minute, I really want to take this right back. And it took me back to one of my early memories of being around 5 years old. And that was going to Sunday school. And I can remember being in Sunday school, and there were, we had, what do they call it? Sunday class. So I was being introduced to Bible studies, but in the main area, there was a song that everyone was singing, and it was This Little Light of Mine, I'm Going to Let It Shine. So if you were raised in the church like I was, that might have been a song that you were singing. And I can remember singing that song and thinking, no, I know that I have got this light. I know that I am going to shine. So my first thanks and praise before I even start this show, I have to say that I know that the Most High has actually always been a massive part of my life, my relationship with the Most High, and having that relationship has helped me to grow. So that's where I really wanted to start, because I do think that as we get older, and obviously the more people that we meet in our life, yes, it's nice to give other people recognition and give them credit, but the relationship that you have with whatever words you want to use, I like to say the Most High, other people have different words, that's fine. I do want to say that last night I was led back to this book. You can't really see it properly. Here it is, Conversations with God. If you've read this book, please let me know in the comments. And if you haven't read this book, I would highly recommend it. I have read this book about about 3 times, but it was when I was in my 20s. And last night I'm working with my daughter in the evenings, and I'll tell you about that in a few episodes' time. But anyway, I was actually called to go back to that book. So the book's called Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. It's a very famous book. And again, in my 20s, I started picking up conversations of God with God again. So, I do want to touch on this, and I'm just going to speak openly in this part. If my conversation about my faith and about my relationship with God is not what you want to hear, then that's fine. I don't mind if you want to click off now, because I know that this conversation is for those of you who are ready, who do have your own relationship with the Most High, and we are happy to express this. It's not about hiding who we are, okay? This is not what we're here for. We all have a mission, a divine mission, and a divine purpose on this earth. Now, some of us are in tune with that, and that's okay. And for those of you who maybe have not reached that point, that's okay as well. So I do want to say that I'm not going to pretend that I don't have a connection, or I don't have conversations with the Most High, because I do. And if this is not for you, I am not offended. Honestly, I'm not offended. Because for me, these conversations, they give me guidance. So I use my intuition, which supports me with my daily life. It gives me protection. So there's some really powerful prayers that you can say. There's chapters in the Bible that are actually for protection. So if you are going through a situation in your life where maybe you are feeling that things are not maybe working out as well as you want them to, or you're in conflict with a lot of people and you don't understand what's going on, then you might need to call on some protection, and that is definitely there for you in the Bible. I've spoken about my intuition. I have started a new little series. It's what are they, like 2.5 minutes? It's called Divine, what are they called now? Divine Divine Mystical Messages. But again, that was part of my guidance last week, which was like one of my books that I read. I landed on the number 111, which has spiritual significance. And the guidance was like, you need to start sharing this. So I have been sharing them. They're only 2 minutes long. I do a voiceover. And if you've come across them, thank you so much, because I've noticed that on the Facebook Reels, the numbers are really going up. Now, I really don't have a clue what I'm doing over on the Facebook, but something's working. I don't post them over on LinkedIn, but that's for a reason. So if you are watching this on LinkedIn, I will put the link underneath, because I'm uploading them onto YouTube. But yes, again, that was my intuition. And I'm so happy that I've done it. So, going back to where I've started, my connection and my relationship with the Most High is helping me to grow, helping me already to discover Facebook and these reels. I mean, for those of you who are already posting on reels all the time and you know what you're doing, congratulations. I have no idea, but something's working and it's making me feel happy. So let's talk about new opportunities that appear. So yes, this is about when you work with your own intuition, you actually tune into your faith. So whatever that means for you, I'm talking about positive. Okay. Now, I do talk about the emotional scale as well. So in my work as a healer, I do support the men and the women that I work with to really tap into their emotions. And even if you are sitting at the lower end of the emotional scale, that's okay, because what we can do is we can do certain things that will shift it. And honestly, you will find yourself moving up. Even myself, I came onto a call this week with my daughter in our evening practice, and I was not in the right place emotionally. I'm just going to put it out there. I wasn't. I was sitting at number 12, which is disappointment. I was disappointed. Something had happened, and I was like, why is this happening to me? But do you know what? After actually, checking in with my emotion, sitting with it, and saying, okay, what can I do right now to shift this? I need to get up this vibrational scale. Then we did our work and it was amazing. I think I landed on about a 7, which is feeling contented. So, yeah, that was good. Now, what I want to talk to you about now is the hands that help you to grow. This is really important because doors will open and doors will close for you. So going back to the point about protection, sometimes when you feel that a door has closed for you, I don't know if you've ever stopped to consider it may have been divine protection, which actually means that not all the doors that you want to go through are actually good for you. Okay. Now, don't ask me why. Sometimes things that are unseen to us are actually protecting us. What I want to say to you, if you're not familiar with this type of conversation, is yes, we are here. I'm speaking to you in what we know as the third dimension. But for me, as above, so below. So divine protection does kick into our life. You can be redirected. Okay, so something that you thought was going to happen, then it didn't happen, and then something else happened, and then you're thinking, oh, actually, the other thing that happened was actually better than the thing that I thought was going to happen. So don't always see these redirections as bad things. And I love this point about ideas arriving just at the right time. Has that ever happened to you? Please do let me know, because sometimes you're just thinking, wait a minute, why didn't I think about that before? But actually, the divine timing wasn't there for before. That happened to me yesterday when somebody wanted to have a conversation with me, and I actually put it off for about 3 months, actually. But when I thought about it, I thought, well, I didn't really have the right words. I wasn't in that right vibration. They wanted to connect with me, but it wasn't the right time. So I went back to them yesterday and I was like, actually, I'm ready for that conversation with you because I know exactly what I'd like to speak to you about. So these things arrive in our life at the right time, and it's all helping you to grow. It's all helping you on your path. So where I want to turn in now is the gifts that I have been tapping into. Now, I've shared a little bit about this series that I've got going on. If you want to ask me a direct question for that, because I have put on, I think it's the second episode of that I actually was asking the divine for inspiration and for an intuitive message for those who I know who are already tuning into that message. Now, that is number 2. I'll post number 2, episode number 2, underneath here, because the first one was really about me saying, oh, I know something's happening, but I'm not too sure. And I was just open to seeing what was coming through to me. But number 2 was really for those of you who actually are tuning into this message. You're tuning into my light, like literally, and you're going, actually, I want to know more. So do know that if you're watching this right now, whether you're watching the replay or you are watching live, you are on the right path. And this message is for you. Because like I said, at the beginning of my message, I've actually said to them, the ones who don't want to hear this, please just click off now. It's not a problem for me. So if you are still here, then know that you have been divinely guided to be here. So we've spoken a lot about things that are unseen. So let's talk about the ones that we can see, the relationships that we have had that impact on us. So I would say that the soul hands who have actually supported us to grow along the way. Now, of course, we have to include our family. I'm not going to go into my family circumstances. If you've listened to the earlier episodes, you've actually would have tuned into that. For those of you who are new to my conversation, I wasn't raised by my mum and my dad. I was primarily raised by my grandmothers, who I'll talk about shortly. And then I did have some time in foster care as well. But family is really important. I have my own family now, and I love the connection that I have with my daughter, my granddaughters, my oldest son, and my little son as well. You know, I'm forming my own bond with my family. So, we've all come from different backgrounds and different circumstances. But my grandmothers, okay, so my notes actually do acknowledge grandfathers as well. I didn't have that relationship with my grandfathers. I know some of those that I'm connected with. You have wonderful relationships with your grandfathers, or even now that you've got your own family, your fathers, your dad is very much part of that connection and that life. And I think that's wonderful, because we do have to, like I said in my introduction, really share these things from the next generation. So my connection with my granddaughters, it is amazing. And I feel so happy that I'm having this opportunity to be a nana. Okay. So what about teachers? Okay. Now, even if you don't feel that you've finished your formal education, many of us are self-taught. So we have gone to books and to courses and to seminars in our adult years. And there's nothing wrong with that. So we have to really acknowledge and recognize the teachers that have had an impact in our life. Also, our friends. Friends have been important, but at the same time, I'm looking for the book. I think it's over there, so I'm not going to grab it. Today's Sunday reading circle, I'm still reading oh gosh, what's it called? Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, Susan Jeffers. And in the chapter that we've read, it was actually talking about how some friendships will come out of your life, particularly when you start working on yourself, okay? Because some of your friendships, and it could be your personal relationships as well, for their own reasons, they will start to feel insecure about your growth. Now, don't worry about it. The message is for you to keep going on your path, because what will happen is the more you start or continue to work on yourself, you will actually attract new friends, and maybe you will attract a new relationship as well if your relationship has broken down because you actually was going onto a different path. You are, like I said, divinely guided and protected. Nothing bad will happen to you. So people in other communities, this is really important. I do feel that we have to be open to learning from others. I'm very interested in other cultures. I can't really say I speak other languages. I've learned little bits of other languages, but I've always been interested in other cultures. And like there's some Hindu songs, for example, that as soon as they come on, it's like I feel as though I know. I'm like, how do I know it? Maybe I was a Hindu in a past life. I actually do believe that, by the way. But anyway, my point is, I've always been open to other cultures and other people. And I feel that this is what helps us to grow as well. If we just be closed off and think, oh, well, this is the way how my family raised me, and this is all what I know in this culture, in my culture, and we're closed off to other people, I don't feel that that's going to help us to raise the vibration of the earth. So please stay open to other cultures. If you are interested in exploring language, visiting places, the food, dialects, things like that, just remain open. You are an open vessel. It's all good. It's going to shape you. It's going to help you to grow. So we're talking about the hands that are supporting us to grow. So I want to turn it over to you. Who is supporting your growth? So you can either talk about when you were younger, like I've touched upon, or you can tell me about who's supporting your growth right now. And if that question is difficult for you to answer, then I would like to invite you to maybe pick up a book. Okay, it might be a personal development book, it may be a spiritual book. I'd invite you to go onto YouTube or the equivalent platforms and listen to, you might type in motivational talks or whatever. Okay, there's so much information out there that can feed your mind and your soul. And for me, working in the space of well-being, I want to know all of it. I want to know about things that can help my body, things that can help with my emotions. So there's always something for us to learn. And that will be part of your heritage, and you can pass that down to the next one. So before I wrap up, I do want to touch on grandmother's wisdom. Yay! So if you're not familiar with this part of my conversation on a Sunday, I do talk about my grandmother Sue, my mum's mum, and my grandmother Annie, my dad's mum. Now, unfortunately, they are both passed away, but I would like to tell you that I still have a connection with my grandmothers, okay, in so many different ways. Their photographs are in my room. If I feel stuck, I will think, oh, grandmother, like, what would you do? How would you get, what would you have said about this? So there is a way that we can still hold on to our relatives, even when they're not in this physical realm with us. And the hands that help me to grow. So let's talk about food. Both of my grandmothers were brilliant cooks, okay? And they knew that having their family around them and feeding us was going to be a brilliant way of them expressing their love, but also keeping the family connected. And, if any of my family are watching this, they'll know that we're not as close because our grandmothers, I'm not saying we're not close, but, those family meetups, those Sunday meetups, they're not happening now, okay? So we do have moments throughout the year when families are meeting, obviously, but I'm talking about the whole extended family, and I've got a very large family. So cooked meals were what both of my grandmothers were using to keep the family together. Caring for children is something that both of my grandmas have explained that they took on responsibility for me. They also looked after my other cousins as well, particularly my grandmother Anne. So if you went round to my grandmother Anne's house, then you'd always see either one or more of her grandchildren and great grandchildren as well. And let's think about praying. Yeah. So both of my grandmothers, what I loved about their relationship with the Most High is they didn't force it on to the family. So they actually just shared their practices. Okay. Now, with my grandmother Sue, when I was younger, the Sunday school bus, they said, no, we will come and pick Vanessa up. And I was like, yes, I want to go. My grandmother didn't always go to church. In fact, it was when she became much older in her retirement years that she started to go to church regularly. But when I was younger, I would go off to church in the little minibus. And my grandmother Annie, same thing. She did have times where she was, going to a regular church, but when she didn't go to a church, she still had church in her own home. So we can bring these things in. So yes, these were the things that my grandmothers taught me how to have that connection, not only with the Most High, but also with the extended family as well. Now, let's keep going here. I'm going to close, actually. I feel like I've covered everything in my notes. I write notes to keep me on track, but sometimes I know I'm all over the place, so please bear with me. And if there's anything that I've said in today's conversation that has particularly stood out for you, please could you let me know? And I do have to give the reminder that if you are watching this on a platform and you are not yet subscribed to that channel, so if you're watching it on YouTube, or my Facebook page, then give me a thumbs up. And if you want to subscribe, I would really appreciate it. So I started this conversation by letting you know that I was the little girl at the front of the church that knew that I had a relationship with the Most High and knew that by keeping that relationship going, that it would help me to grow. Now, I will say I am now 50, okay? And it's true. It has certainly helped me. Now, for those of you who don't have that connection or you don't feel that your connection is as strong as you want it to be, it's not a problem. I mean, I was listening to some really lovely songs today. This is definitely what I wanted to say in this, that I'm going to post, leave the link of a song I was listening to just before when I was getting ready, because again, songs can really help us to tune in. So that will really support you. You can find your connection through music. All right, so I'm going to leave that for you. Now, I'm just going to tell you about next week. Next week, we're going to talk about what are you feeding. Now, this is about looking at our growth. It is about our roots. So our family and our heritage is a big part of it. Okay. But I really want to move our conversation on. I really want to talk about, what are you feeding your mind? What are you feeding your body? What are you feeding your relationships? What are you feeding your business? What are you feeding your soul? So I've just talked about music. Music is so good for the soul, particularly the right music, the right frequencies. And I could go on and on and on, but I'm not going to, because it's 25 minutes now. So I am going to wrap up. So please do come back next week. And the things that I wanted to say about music, I will put that into next week's show. So I hope that you have found value in my conversation. If you have, please leave me a message, even if it's a private message. I'm getting private messages coming through, and that's not a problem. But if you do want to share something publicly, please do, because you don't know who else will be looking at that, and you could be helping the next one. So thank you so much for listening and tuning in. I will be back next week, and enjoy the rest of your day. You take care. Bye. Can never end it properly.